Hey guys, it's Jenna Elfman from Fear the Walking Dead. I play Laura. No, I play Naomi. No, I play June. I play June on Fear the Walking Dead. And you're listening to the Fear the Walking Dead talk through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register, and I play Laura on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Mick Stahl, and you're listening to Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through.
Cool.
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 97 of Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And coming to you live via satellite, I'm Brian.
Yay! Brian joining us from his mobile phone.
Yes, I am in northern Michigan, and all I have here is my phone, so that's how I'm joining you.
We waxed that string and we're pulling it tight.
Awesome. Well, hey, it works. We're glad that you were able to make it.
That's kind of the reason why we use Zoom, because we can do stuff like this. You know, you don't have to join via super high broadband. If you're stuck, you can do by phone. So that's how we're doing it tonight. Yeah.
Yep.
I called a landline.
No, it works. It's definitely, helps in that regards. So let's hope my internet doesn't go out and I get cut off and then LT starts singing.
You never can tell.
Yeah. True. All right, so we will be covering Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 14, titled Divine Providence. But first, good news. We got a voicemail from our dear friend, Renee. She wanted to kind of come in and just kind of give us an update on what's been going on with her and her husband, and it's good news. So I will go ahead and play that.
Hi, guys. This is Renee from Fairburn. I am calling in to give you guys an update about what has been going on with my husband and I. I really don't think that I'm going to be able to catch up with Fear this season. My fast is over. My fast was supposed to be over that Easter Sunday, but that Wednesday before Easter, we found out that my husband has had salivary gland cancer. My husband went to the dentist to have his teeth whitened. My husband, he goes to the dentist on a regular. He always goes in to have his teeth clean, but this time he went in to have his teeth whitened. And when he went in to have his teeth whitened, he had a little bump that was on the inside of his jaw. And when they whitened his teeth, it caused him to have some discomfort. So they said that the little bump had to be removed before they can finish whitening his teeth. So they sent him to an oral surgeon. And when he went to the oral surgeon, when they removed the bump, they did the bump was very small. I forgot how many centimeters they said it was, but it was so small. And when they removed it, they did a biopsy and they found out that he had low-grade salivary gland cancer. So once we found that out, of course, we was, that took us for a loop. And so I decided to stay on my fast, asking God to heal my husband, and which he did. So my husband, he had to go back to a oral surgeon again, because they want to go in and to do a bigger incision, because when they did the first one, of course, they didn't know it was cancer. So all they did was cut around where the little bump was. So they went in and they did a bigger incision to make sure that they got all of the cancer out, or I guess they just wanted to check and make sure it hadn't spread it or whatever. So thank God. God is so good. He is so good. When they removed it, they did another biopsy and the cancer hadn't spread. It was only in that little spot where he had the bump. So my husband, he doesn't have to do radiation. He does not have to do chemo. He does not have to take any chemo pills or anything. They're just going to watch it. You know, he's going to have to go back every 6 months, so they can watch it. So, of course, I've just been over the moon, just happy, ecstatic that God healed my husband. I'm a firm believer in God, and I know that God, He is a healer, and He healed my husband. So I have not been able to catch up on Fear. I have not been watching Fear at all. I have not watched it at all this season. And I really don't think I'm going to be able to finish it up or even start this season, because now I have my godkids and my nieces and nephews and so many other family and friends that are graduating from school, college, technical school. And I have so many graduations going on at this time, so I'm not going to have time to go back in and binge watch it. So I will catch up with you guys when The Walking Dead come back on, or I think it's supposed to be some other shows coming back on. But I have been listening to you guys when I go to the gym. And Brian, I see that you're back. I'm so happy to know that you're back. And I just wanted to tell you guys thank you for your prayers and your concern. And I have been missing you, Deetta, Glennis, Megan. I see we have a new guy. I think his name is Mike. And, of course, LT and Kyle. I've been missing you guys. I would never leave you. You guys are my favorite podcast. And but I just wanted to touch bases with you guys and let you know what was going on and tell you thank you for, all your prayers and your concern. And, I'll talk to you guys when things come back on. I'll probably be, up under the Facebook group, just saying hi or whatever. But like I said, I'm definitely not going to be able to give any feedback this season. But okay, love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Renee, for letting us know the details of what's going on, because we definitely have missed you. We've definitely been sending you their thoughts and prayers, and it's just good that it is, it's nothing that, it's serious, but it's not like, it's good that it turned out that way.
Yeah.
I emailed her after she sent the voicemail, because she just sent that, I guess, a couple days ago. Just telling her, it's like, oh, we miss her. We're always thinking about her. And also it's like, we don't know when Tales of the Walking Dead starts, but it's this summer sometime. So I told her we'll definitely reach out to her.
We know it's it's supposed to be a 6-episode run, right?
Yeah. And they just haven't really announced it. So it kind of seems like it'd be end of June, maybe July, because nothing else is coming back on until
later in the fall.
It sounds like Talking Dead will be back on for the finale, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably find out the premiere date for Tales, and maybe even the main show on that date. We'll see.
Yeah, we would assume, and that would be the perfect time for them to do that. So, in any case, Renee, definitely, like, I, if you have any feedback, even if it's even after the fact, we could always, kind of give your thoughts, or maybe send a voicemail and we can play it, at the beginning of when Tales. So,
and there will be more opportunities.
And I would like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, hopefully if we can get everybody's arms properly twisted sometime this summer during the off season, if we get much off season, we can go ahead and actually pull off that often mentioned and much threatened roundtable.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely reason to have it, especially at the end of the main show. there'd be a good reason to have one then. So, you know, if not this summer, then, you know, I guess, you know, Christmas time or whenever the main show ends.
Well, and that's what she had mentioned that what might be doing, like we're having, maybe it's just for patrons, or maybe we figure something out.
Yeah,
we need to have our big prediction pool show before it all kicks back off anyway.
Yeah. But I know she also mentioned though, like having like where we like if we can watch it all at the same time, kind of thing, or viewing the finale and having our comments or something. So I don't know. It's like definitely we've got a lot of stuff that we can be doing and like we'll work on. And
it would be funny if we actually did Zombie Theater 3000.
3000.
Well,
I mean,
and one thing that we haven't done that is something that we could do is we can publish our Zoom to Facebook and YouTube at the same time live. Oh yeah. So that's something that I've wanted to experiment with, but we've never done it. So at some point, not making any promises, but that would be something cool to do.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Our exciting live call-in show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, good to hear from you, Renee. All right. Well, since you guys covered the raft while I was busy planting peppers, and then
you're coming to shore to talk about the raft.
Yes. So I, listening to you guys while, you know, editing the episode, I kind of was like, oh, I have some thoughts, you know, or just kind of like an agreement. So I'm kind of pulling like an errand where I'm like going to give you feedback from listening to you guys on the podcast. And
he's going to pepper us with his comments.
Yes. Well, I want to start. It's like I was in complete agreement on why can't they just leave the area, and it's not like they're on an island. You know, it was like I totally agree. It's like, you know, there's the whole rest of the country. So I mean, obviously, why couldn't they just be like, hey, forget this atomic wasteland. Let's just like go somewhere else, go north. You know, hit Tulsa. So I agreed on that part. I laughed and also called Morgan a dick when Sherry and Dwight were coming out of the tunnel. Because, like, when you watch that scene, he calls out Baby Mo's name. And he's all like, Mo, right. Hey, Mo. But he never called them by their name. And it was kind of like the baby can't really call out and say anything. You know, it was like I don't know. I just thought it was so weird. Like, why? It's like, Mo, hey, Mo. And it's like, well, right. But then it's also like, but it's Dwight and Sherry who got through a collapsing tunnel. You know, it's kind of like, wouldn't you be more like, oh, hey, are you guys all right? Come on. And then, so Sherry gets out, and then Dwight comes out, and instead of, he just like grabs the baby out of Dwight's hand, like doesn't help him out or nothing. He just like grabs the baby. I don't know. I thought that whole scene was just so weird and funny that it was just like, it seemed a very weird, like little, almost I would call like a glitch on like who directed the episode and like what they did, because he had zero cares about Sherry and Dwight for saving the baby.
Yeah. And I watched that last night, and I saw that again. And it's like, yeah, he gave two shits about them, and only cared about, you know, Baby Mo. And what's Baby Mo going to say?
Right.
You know?
Baby Mo's like, oh, hey, hi. Yeah. It just seemed very weird. And then also it was like, this poor baby just keeps being locked in these little plastic jails. And I was like, no wonder it cries all the time, because it's like lived its whole life like in this total like cramped enclosure.
It's like Bubble Baby.
I mean, no wonder it's crying all the time. It's like, that poor kid's going to grow up with so much PTSD. It's probably going to end up worse than Strand or Negan. Like, it's going to turn into this like horrible person that's going to like just kill everybody. I don't know.
He's just going to be very claustrophobic.
Well, then that could still cause some problems. But then I was like, yes, I agree with Mike and Glennis that I agree entirely that removing Baby Mo from the show will give us much needed peace and quiet. The next thing was like Sherry like you guys were talking about, like, you know, Sherry worrying that Dwight would fall back into his like Negan like antics or something like that. And it's like, I agree that it was annoying that she was being so heavy-handed on her concerns, but like, how long has it been since they were under Negan? I mean, this has been years at this point, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's like, hasn't Sherry already seen how different Dwight is now that he's been in Texas surviving like with another group? Like, it just seems like Negan is so far removed at this point that like, why would he even like have any kind of an effect anymore? Like, they should have like forgot about him by now and just been like, oh, that's like not a thing anymore. But then it just seems like it's just the showrunners are just using this as like some lazy plot point so that they can, you know, I don't know. It's just like keep referring back to the main show because that's something that, you know, I guess it would keep people interested or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, this just seems odd to me.
Yeah, it just seems very like, oh, that's right, everybody. Hey, remember, it's like Dwight was under Negan, and that somehow, you know. But anyways, it seemed very like not needed and kind of silly at this point.
Yeah.
The Padre binder, I completely agree with that too, because it was like always in clear view, and like wasn't it not that long ago everybody was looking for Padre? And it's like, here's this thing that has just written like all over it, and then like everybody's been around it, and it's like, why wouldn't they have grabbed it, picked it up, or looked through it? Because it's like, even if it might not have like useful information, it like still would have something in there. But you know, it just seems, I think we even brought it up the first time we saw it. It's like, oh, hey, look. And it's like, okay, here's this book that has like Padre written on it that you're all looking for. Like, did someone forget? You know, it's like, it's just sitting there.
Yeah. And, you know, the funny thing is, and you edited this, so you obviously remember it, but in listening to the audio, it's like, I almost forgot to say this. And it's like, when I was watching the episode, I was just like, oh, why did it keep going by that book? You know, I would think Padre, you know, I would see it and like target it with my laser eyeballs, and you know, just make sure that I saw it, picked it up, took it with me. You know, like you always say, LT, you know, take it with you. You know, sort it out later, kind of thing. And it's like it's like they either act like they don't even see it, or they just leave it behind. And it's just like, come on. And you know, and you know, I didn't even pick up on the fact that that woman was Sanchez, whatever,
right,
or Vasquez, whatever. So obviously we're going to have a scene, you know, in one of the next two episodes where she's going to be there, and it's going to be, oh, I know where Padre is. You know, that's where I came from, you know, or whatever. And it's just like, that's why they sent her to Strand. It's specifically so that, you know, it's a convenient plot point.
Yeah. Well, and then it's also like, if they had actually looked at that book and picked it up, then it's like, maybe they might have realized who that woman was to begin with. You know, it's like, maybe she's in there. Right. Like, maybe there's, but we have no idea because no one's looked into it. It's just been sitting there collecting dust.
Right.
We don't know what's in the binder. It could, you know, it could be a stack of prop pages. It could be the cure for the zombie plague. You know, nobody knows because nobody took it with them.
Right. No one even bothered to even check it out.
It could be prop wash.
Yeah.
LT, I'm doing a cross podcast joke.
That comes in a bucket.
It was something LT mentioned in
it's a binder of grid squares.
The world.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, you only get that if you've been watching or been listening to both podcasts. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, then I listening to the podcast, I was like, I agree with you, LT. It's like, yes, they had this nice functioning bunker safe from radiation, but now they filled it full of walkers, so it took a long time, but they ruined it. Like this one place that, could have been perfect for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like I guess the showrunners forgot about it too. So then they realized, they're like, oh crap, we have to ruin it so people want to only go to the tower. And so that was the whole purpose of going in there and just filling it up with walkers.
Yeah, it's like I said, every place that we've been that you don't want them to go back to is like going to the next stage in a video game that you can't go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like, oh, we can't go there. That was last week.
Yeah. It's like, what do you call that kind of video game where you're on like a track?
Side scroller.
You can't, you're only able to go in one direction and you can't go backwards.
Well, it's like old Super Mario side scroller.
Platform game. That's what I'm thinking of.
You can only go forward.
Yeah.
Right.
And then last, it was like, I did like what Glennis said about the gun shroud that was now in Sherry's possession. And it'd just be interesting that if she runs into Madison with it, then Madison will be like, okay, what the heck? Where did you get that? But of course, I doubt that's how this is going to play out with the return of Madison. And actually, now that we're recording this and what they've done, they've released some stuff that it's like.
I was going to say, but Kyle, I was going to say, so what do you think is going to be worse, the gun shroud or the fact that Alicia's got her Wolverine hand now?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. Regardless with her Wolverine hand, the shroud was that was her iconic weapon.
Right. For a long, long time. And then all of a sudden now, no.
Right. No. And so that's kind of like, it was like her butterfly knife she had like in season 2. It was like, they were like these things that like, oh, these are the iconic weapons or, like whatever. It's like, you recognize that is an Alicia thing. And of course they got rid of it, or she's just like, I don't want that anymore because now she's one-handed. But I don't know. It's just interesting to think about that, being like, oh, she gives it to Sherry. What would happen? Like all of a sudden, if she happened to run to Madison, she'd be like, I know what that is because there's only one shroud that I've seen before. But anyway, so those were just kind of some of my comments from the episode last week that you guys covered for me. Thank you. Well, next is Erin from the internet, and she had comments about Sunny Boy and then the raft. So again, this is because I didn't get the episode out until last week and released them both basically at the same time.
And so Erin's comments start off about Sunny Boy by saying, bad writing is what this show does, Mike. I definitely questioned the Tupperware container move, Brian. As you said, 1, it doesn't give Mo a lot of breath space if that's where she's kept for a long time, and 2, it doesn't muffle her cries that much, so if anything, they're putting her in danger too with that move.
Given all the talk of wanting Mo to be his legacy, I wouldn't be surprised if in Strand's last episode, she's like, because he has to die now this season, it makes no sense why someone other than Madison would keep him alive, and she'd only do it for prolonged torture. We see a future where adult Mo, at least teenage Mo, is running the tower with an iron fist like he wanted, and then we cut back to reality, and he's either in a fight now losing that future, or it's what he's seeing as he dies, and it's all fading away. She says, I totally agree, Kyle. Why would you knock Victor out realistically if this was your one chance to get rid of him? Yeah, we know they have to keep Coleman around for a little bit longer, at least, so he can shoot. But realistically, He should have, because even if he's shot afterwards, he still took out Strand. It just made John look dumb.
And she goes on to say, Madison is never a problem. Nick in season 3 was our last major character death because Madison isn't dead, so season 4 wasn't the last one. Ha.
Well, that's an opinion.
Yes.
Because, I would say John Dory was a major character, but I know, Aaron, you would disagree. So
she's referring to the OGs. So
yeah, she has a different definition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay.
Yep, it's all good. She goes on and says Madison could bring Strand back from evil some if he doesn't kill Alicia, because if he kills her or is any way connected to her death, Madison will kill him. Again, even if she acts friendly, her end goal is his death. I don't see how they can save him this year, though, and him continue on for a long afterwards, given how no one trusts him and he's killed everyone this year. So there's really no one left to help him now, unless Alicia has a sudden change of heart, which, with how inconsistent they write her, she could. Ugh, as Kyle says, we'll see. I look for both Coleman and Alicia to be out soon, no matter what happens. Her, because they treated Alicia poorly over the last 3 seasons, and him because all of his buddies' BTS are gone now, essentially.
And she says, I thought it was sad Howard believed his family was still out there alive. That was pretty naive. Agreed, Brian.
Thank you.
These writers care? You're funny, LT. Well, their last trying was the Virginia and the Rangers. Since then, they haven't done jack.
And she goes on, they flew away just like the ratings. Quote, she's like, clap and LOL to Brian.
Yeah, that was probably the best part of that podcast for me. When I was listening to it, when I said that, I was like, that's a good one, Brian.
That's funny. And she goes on, she says, the podcast is the best part of the series and easily has been for at least 3 years for sure now. Aw, smiley face. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fudge.
Nice to hear.
And he says, sometimes series hardcore earn their shit on it recaps, Brian. As a fan, you hope it will walk the writers up, but it rarely happens. So either it continues to be shit or you stop watching, or it's shit and you suffer through it because it's going to be canceled soon and you've already given it 5 years of your life. So what's a few more months to say you watched it all? So yes, you can fairly shit on it with expertise now. Huh? You're not just hitting and quitting shitting on it.
The funny thing is I read her feedback and I drove the last 2 days, so listeners know, I drove up from Oklahoma to Michigan. And so I listened to several of our episodes, both Walking Dead and Star Trek. And anyway, the whole, we spent like several minutes just talking about shitting on the show. Yeah. So, and there's a lot to shit on.
Yes. And she goes on, she says, for favorite season so far, I definitely say season 3 is up there, Kyle. My top 3 would be 3, 1, and 6. I like Jenny too.
Yeah, 3, 1, and 6. Yeah. I mean, 1, I didn't give a lot of props to at the time, but if you go back and you look at it, season 1 was actually pretty decent. I don't think it started that great, but it finished pretty good. The main part that it got wrong was that whole 9 days, how it skipped the 9 days. That was a misstep, I think. But the season was pretty good. Otherwise, season 2 was slog.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have higher regard for at least season 4A. For, you know, as I have to say every episode, Morgan falls asleep in the back of a semi and wakes up in Mississippi. before that,
Yeah,
everything was okay.
Yeah, 4 was definitely the 4A. So the first part of 4.
4A.
Because it had been a while, and then, we were all wanting Fear, and so it was kind of like, okay, new showrunners, this and that. But it really was actually pretty entertaining, because I remember us covering it, and it was kind of like, it's kind of like this whole new, they changed up the title graphics, there's just like, the whole, like, new characters, new people, we love new people, so it was good in that sense, and then it just kind of then started heading down.
Well, and then then they killed off Nick, and then they killed off Madison, the same way that they've killed off Rick on the main show, killed/not killed, Schrodinger's Madison. Both dead and not dead at the same time. Yeah.
And last on Sunny Boy, she said 55 became the highest group, Brian, because the 24-year-olds turned over 55 by the time the series ended. Lol.
Yeah. In other words, they got so old watching the show that they turned 55. It aged them.
Well, the show's been going on a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been on. It did start. This show did start in 2015, so that's been a while.
Yeah, I mean that's like 7 years. What's season 7?
And the main show 12 years ago.
Yeah,
hard to believe.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy to believe that. She said, I can't speak for the main show, but while actually short on season 8 is a low number for me, as I still remember the days of 10 to 15 years for a series, back when 20 to 24 or 22 to 24 episodes a season was a thing. This series has had half its time feeling like a slog fest to get through it, so it feels like 30 years since good content, and now here we are aged up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, weren't that many that went to 10 to 15. I can think of maybe, did X-Files do that? I don't know.
Not that many, but it was like,
yeah, it was up there.
Yeah, it was up there. Well, and then if you count the kind of the reboots or the ones that happened like
right,
whatever, the couple of years ago when they were like, oh hey, they came back. Well, but then the thing is though, it's like, yeah, you remember. Like, I'm actually rewatching 24, which obviously is going to be 24 episodes, but it's like, it's like series used to be like a whole, like, big, long, like, tracks of episodes, and I'm not sure, it's like, even going back and, watching Deep Space Nine and all that stuff, it's like they had these, like, that's what, because you were watching it on TV, so it's like, you wait every week, you would get your one episode, and now everything, because of streaming, I'm sure, it's just like it's all gotten shortened, which definitely challenges what you can do in that amount of time.
Well, I think it's that, and also just the budgets that they're spending more per episode on TV shows, so
true.
As a result, they're spending more per episode. So, and it costs more per episode. It takes longer per episode, especially with the special effects and all that. So it just they can only get through so many. I mean, Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, them doing 16 episodes per season. That's actually in non-network TV is actually quite a lot. 16 episodes. Most of the TV these days is either 13 or 10, or even less than that. Like Mandalorian's 8?
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be the other little common thing too. It's like, like I think I'm Raising Dion on Netflix. The second, like it's 8 episodes.
Right.
I think, yeah. So it's different kind of, they've, you're right. It's like more money's going into it. And then, it's just a shorter, more just quick, easy to binge watch.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Aaron, for that. Next is her comments on the raft.
I guess I'll take this. Since I was quiet during Sunny Boy.
Go for it.
And hopefully my phone won't sound too bad. She says, I'm sure we will see him again because this wouldn't make any sense to leave Alicia so alone in this fight. We'll see him again because he's Gimple's pet. It's too much to think this is him leaving forever. And of course, she means Morgan. I've got to find Morgan. And she says, so many peppers from Farmer Kyle. Yes, Kyle McAdams has a farm. E-I-E-I-O. LOL to Mike's Awesome Sauce comment. He's not wrong. And, I think, what was that? About the reusing plots? No. Oh, I know what it was. That was the thing about you can't wait for this season to end because there's only 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Alicia didn't need Morgan to tell her she was ready to lead. She knew that. It's insulting they act as if she needs his approval to make her smart moves. What kind of emoji is? Oh, that's looking up.
Eye roll.
Face, like eye roll.
It's
Again, they handicap her. Yeah, well, I'm looking at this on my phone, so sue me. Again, they handicap her so much and then wonder why people say the early seasons were better. It's bad writing, LT, that Alicia flip-flops so much. Yeah, I would have to agree. And it's not just her character. It's, and this comes up in this episode as well. This show sucks for continuity. Facts, Dieta. Morgan isn't in next week? Yes. Hearts and smiley face. Thank you for the great news, Brian. Well, and another smiley face. It might be a good episode then. Ha! And LT, Mrs. LT, grumpy face. Bad LT. You're not as Morgan yet, but sir, you're wrong for the hormonal comment.
And I would say, not going to happen. She loves me. And she has for a very, very long time. And in my career, I've said a lot worse. So,
well, then you're all safe.
I have spouse armor, madam.
All right. Thank you again, Aaron, for your comments. Your comments about the podcast. So that was all that we got for previous episodes. So that leads us into this week's episode. So this week is Fear the Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 14, titled Divine Providence, written by Alex Delyle and David Johnson, directed by Edward Ornelas. Description from AMC Plus was, as the battle for the tower heats up, Alicia brings a fight to Strand's front door. All right, well, that leads into our ratings. Me and LT were talking about this before we started recording. Like, I didn't quite like the episode, but I still like some parts of it, and I know you did too, but it was still like really hard. And so I'm giving this a really soft 7. And then I put, for once I agree with Wes. What the hell are you talking about, Strand? So I don't know. It could change, but I'm putting it in the preface of like when we've talked about like, oh, if I was rating the show lower than that, then like why am I even watching it? To like, yeah, this episode wasn't great, but I did find some things that I did enjoy out of it, so I kind of kept it. My 7's kind of my safe zone. Like, we'll keep going with it. Brian, what did you give this episode?
Well, I wanted to give a rating that reminded me of The core of this episode was mostly around 3 season 1 characters, Strand, Alicia, and Daniel, to a lesser extent, but I enjoyed Daniel in this episode, although certain parts, of course, I don't enjoy. So I'm giving it an 8 senile assassins.
Yes.
And I could probably use, I could have used that. I probably could have used that in past episodes as well. So,
yeah. He's like there 1 minute, then gone the next.
Yeah.
LT, what'd you give it?
Well, I generously gave it a 6 out of 10. And because I got such, and I'm air quoting, such a good response last time I did this, 6 out of 10, the 1974 thriller by Irwin Allen starring Steve McQueen, The Towering Inferno.
Okay.
Or my other one was a lot simpler. The Roof. The Roof. The Roof is on fire.
Good. Yes, that it was by the end of this. Goodness. But a 6. So
We don't need no water.
Well, we ain't got no water.
True.
Which I'll have to complain about later, but I'm going, you got all those green plants up there.
Right. But, well, maybe they have, Strand has somebody in his tower cohorts that, like, go down to the well and carry it all the way up.
Bucket toters. Get your exercise by going up 8 flights of stairs carrying 2 buckets.
Yeah, because he probably wouldn't let them use the elevator, because that's just for Strand. All right. Well, that leads us into our listeners' ratings. And Glennis from Toronto gave it a 7 out of 10. The Wicked West is dead.
Ding dong. And Aaron from the internet gives it a 4 out of 5, only because of this episode mainly being the OGs running things and Alicia and Strand getting to have moments together.
Yep. It was good. All right. Well, that leads us into our awesome sauce. All right. A first awesome sauce comes from Glennis from Toronto, and she says, Daniel being a pure badass with his multiple kills is saving Alicia's life. And Mama Clark's entrance is all set up for next episode when Alicia sends out that radio message and states, "This is Alicia Clark." ... Yeah, I thought that too. I won't say many more, but it was kind of like one of those things where like my ears perked up, and she's like, she said her full name, you know, like it's like, do anybody, you know, out there know who, like, why would she announce herself like that? You know, it was kind of like, she could just be like, hey, this is Alicia from the tower. But, you know, she made a point, or the showrunners made a point.
Yeah. Aaron from the internet, who says, no Morgan Jones. And she says, Daniel calling out Luciana for lying. This will probably lead him to killing her now, but it was nice to see him go off on her.
Yeah. Yep. He called her out. All right. Well, that was all of our listeners' awesome sauce. So let's go into ours. Again, I had mostly issues with this episode, and I think I should probably just at least preface it the fact. I mean, I've already talked about that. You know, I know you have AMC Plus Brian, so it's like I've seen next week's episode, and then there was also some stuff that came out this week before we recorded that it's like they're almost kind of like it's starting to affect me before we even record. And I usually try to like stay away from everything so that I can kind of feel like I can give the episode, you know, I'm like, I'm only thinking about this. I'm not letting other stuff like, you know, interfere with my, you know, thoughts and my feelings. But one awesome sauce, and I think we can say this about Daniel, and I know some of our listeners, and I think some of your guys' comments might do that, but it's like, I did like Strand in little moments. of just being true to his character of like what we know him as, from what we known him since the beginning. You know, we've always known that he's like this like kind of shifty, conniving little like secrets, and like he, you know, doesn't really like show all his cards, and he gets people to trust him only to kind of like basically like leave them. Like, I don't know how many times have we seen him basically like get caught, like what was it? I don't know if it was at season 3 or maybe 2, where like he was like packing this whole other truck with supplies, and I think Madison found out or whatever. It's like, where are you going? Like, what you know, like what's this or something like that. But you know, it's like he always has played that game to where, you know, he's just like, you think that you can trust him, but then he shows his true colors, and you know that he's like, no, he's only out for himself. Like, he's always like, he's self-preservation mode always. Like he's, so we did get to see some of that, or just when he was talking to Alicia, and like, I tried to go back and I couldn't find the actual, like, I couldn't find exactly where he said it before we started recording. But it was just kind of like he was just telling Alicia, because I think she was like saying, oh, like, you know, you said you had to go find yourself whenever you were in Lawton or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I found myself. I found out who I really am. And it was like, yeah, because like we know basically the type of guy Strand is, and you know, he'll always find a way to kind of have that extra, you know, backup plan. And that backup plan usually is about him basically taking off and leaving everybody, you know, like to do their own thing, or, you know, whatever. But
true.
So I mean,
yeah, I think that was actually in season 4. Because it was that one guy that
yeah,
you know, was kind of flirty with. It was at the stadium. And,
okay, that would have been season 4 when they were doing the flashback.
That guy,
yeah,
that guy.
Well, so I'll give. That's kind of where I was going, at least with my. I would give this my awesome, was because like Strand was this character that we knew that he didn't let people get close to him, but then we got to see him struggle with that whenever he like really truly cared about the person. And we saw that with, you know, between him and Madison, with Nick, with Alicia, like in the old days. So even though now I feel like Strand is a mess, like the writing's a mess, what they're doing this episode or this season has just been a mess. But they do at least give us these glimpses of like our like old G characters of like what we remembered from when this all started. So it's like kind of like they're almost like letting me reminisce about when I enjoyed the show. I was like super excited about it. So I'm giving that my awesome.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep, that was it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I would just go ahead.
Yeah, because that's why I didn't give more, because you guys like had others.
Well, my awesome sauce was letting Daniel be Daniel again.
Yes.
The thing that I've enjoyed is in this latest manifestation, the fact that when he's doing all of this stuff, he's throwing out that little random bits of commentary. You know, when he's choking the guy out, he goes, you know, this is why you don't cuff people in the front. You always cuff them in the back. And I'm going, very true, Daniel, very true. And something he did when he took the guy's gun after he uncuffed himself shows that at least either Ruben's paying attention or whoever is teaching them gun handling taught them something that was, most people wouldn't notice, but I noticed, is that when he took the pistol out of the holster, he slide checked it, which if you're wondering what he did, it's when you pinch the slide up near the muzzle and you pull it back just enough to look in the chamber to see if it's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
You do that little slide check, and then he dropped the magazine and looked at how many rounds were in the magazine, slam the mag back home. And then that's when, they rounded the corner and he drew down on them. But it's the point of that's a little, gun handling 102 kind of thing. The fact that they actually put in the fact he had enough presence of mind to check the chamber, check the magazine. Because what would most people do? They just pick the gun up and go, I've got a gun now. Well, you don't know if you have one bullet, if you have 31 bullets, that's what you do when you're actually checking it. So that was a little nice bit of Daniel being Daniel and showing that he is, actually a trained killer. I didn't go for the Strand part. My awesome sauce is actually Coleman Domingo. I'm going with the actor rather than the character because I think that this just showed that once again, he's in there chewing up the scenery, delivering some lines, and actually giving a performance no matter how bad the writing was and how abysmal the plot points were, that it just, to me, it was him, acting in a fairly badly formed character ploy. And I also had to mention for awesome sauce, there were no Rufo sides this episode. Nobody took the express, even though I realize for, the pedantic folks in the audience, I know defenestration is throwing someone out of a window, if you want to be perfectly technical, but this is the first defenestrationless episode we've had in a while. So that was because I'm going to have to talk about Strand a bit later.
Well, we do have something to say about a recurring theme that I'll bring up in my, I don't know where to put it. I'll probably put it in my oh hell no sauce for the first time. But in my awesome sauce, I'm going to say the Alicia Strand team, the fact that they are, teaming up again. And it was nice to see them teaming up again, like in prior seasons.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that in, a few seasons, and even said in the, I don't know if it was in the stuff at the end of the episode for that comes in the AMC Plus, or one thing I watched was the episode diaries, and it may have been mentioned there, but Alicia Debnam-Carey even mentioned how long it had been for her and Coleman to work together. It had been a long time. So, basically I think early in season 6 that they had worked together. So anyway, it just goes to show you how long it's been. So I like that. I like the duality and kind of the kind of both sides of Wes's death. Okay, so we see it from Alicia's viewpoint that Wes is going to give in. She thinks he's going to give in. And we see it from Strand's viewpoint that he's not going to back down. And in the end, Strand takes him out because he believes that he's not going to back down. And I'll put this in my what sauce about that part, but just that I like I called it Schrodinger's Wes, because it was kind of like, he was both going to give up and not going to give up at the same time. And it's kind of a judgment call as to which one he was going to actually do. So I kind of enjoyed that one.
Okay.
So that's what I've got.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, that leads us into our weak sauce.
You're worthless and weak.
We'll kick off the weak sauce with Glennis from Toronto, who says, couldn't Strand just have accepted and brought Alicia into the group, into the tower in the first place and avoided all the unnecessary killings and bad blood? This plot and the whole second half of season 7 seems so pointless, but I suppose then it would have been only a few episodes long.
Yep.
It's true. And she goes on to say, really, Wes, you wanting to kill Alicia when you were once painting with her and looking like her new love interest. So Strand ends up killing both Will and Wes. Alicia, have a boyfriend whose name doesn't start with a W.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Jinx.
And like I said, considering that Victor killed both of them.
Mm-hmm. That is true. It's not good. Alicia's bad track record. All right. Well, thank you, Glennis. Next is Erin from the internet. She said, Alicia took too long to pull the trigger on Wes. He wasn't going to change, girl. Just shoot him. I get trying to save people when there's a chance they could change, but he wasn't going to, and Alicia isn't above killing when the need arises. So yeah, that was just lame. I'm fine with Strand killing him also, but really, just shoot people when you have the chance. I thought the same thing, though, like with at the beginning, where Alicia had Strand at gunpoint, but like was like literally like giving a side profile. You know, like normally when you see in the shows where like someone's got someone held up, you know, and they got someone at gunpoint, they're usually using their body as a shield. And this was like Alicia standing totally at super arm's length, like to the side, so that like if Wes really wanted to kill her, like he had pretty all these chances to just shoot her. And it didn't seem like he really cares that much for, you know, Strand anyway. So it's like, oh, she got a shot and hurt Strand. It's like, you still would have killed Alicia and then she, you know, might have hurt Strand. I don't know. It was just kind of funny. It was just silly. It's like, you're like totally so exposed right there.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. All right. Well, thank you, Erin, for your weak sauce. So that gets us into ours. I guess some of this, I put it in my week because it was just kind of, so like all this time, Strand was just wanting Alicia's approval or something like that. Like that was the part that I didn't really get. Like what we've seen Strand like this whole season, or at least this back half or whatever, you know, he's been all over the place. He's been throwing people off the roof, you know, there's, you know, basically treating Alicia and like her people like crap, you know, but then all of a sudden flip-flops and be like, oh, no, I love you. I want to show you like the tower and like blah, blah. And like, even I think it says like, no, I want you to be the one that's like running it or be a part of it or this and that. And so I don't know, it's just like, so it's like, is that what this whole season just like comes down to? I don't know. Everything's been so rushed. So it's just really hard because like every episode's different, you know, it's like Strand's paranoid and, oh, is he crazy, to being like, no, he's not. He's just wants Alicia's approval, which would make some sense.
I want my legacy.
Yeah. But I mean, but that's the thing. It's like, this could have been done in such a different and better way, knowing the relationship that Strand has with Alicia. They've known each other from the beginning. You know, it's almost kind of like they're almost like, you know, family. But it's just all did not make sense. And just after everything we've seen, you know, it was just kind of like, okay, whatever. You know, like it is what it is. And then also, like, Wes, if he really had some real reasoning behind what he was doing, like, I feel like then he would have been a really good bad guy. Like, you know, he could have, just in putting him in that position, or just being like, okay, he's going to be this like double crosser, or like, whatever, and what he does, Strand, where he's like, I'm going to take over the tower now because I don't trust you, and somehow got everybody's support behind him, which, okay. But then again, it's just like the way they wrote this and the way they did this is like, it was, again, all over the place. It didn't make any sense. We had like Wes's motives were totally just like, it's just like he just did it. Like, he like even called out, like he was talking to Strand, but he called out saying, he's like, oh, remember, it's like, I just like don't like people, or people are the problem. And he's like, he even called out Morgan, Alicia, and then compared them to Strand. But then he says, like, but I chose Strand because he's building a tower. Like, none of that made. He's like, oh yeah, I don't trust any of you. You guys are all wrong. But I pick him because, like, Alicia, you couldn't do what he did. I don't know. It just it made no sense. It made zero sense.
It made zero sense. I completely agree with you.
So
I can't say it more emphatically that the whole thing didn't make any sense at all.
It's like, I don't know how did that get even past even being put down pen to paper, being like, like, did anybody else kind of like look this over and say, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why would he be doing this? I don't know. That just, maybe it's the B writing team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really think I had anything. I thought I might have had another week, but I think I led more to my Wattses. So that's all I got for my week. What do you guys have?
Well, I kind of agree with what you said. Wes. I just don't buy it. In fact, I have so much that I want to say about Wes that I couldn't just put it in week. I have more to say about him. And I just don't buy the whole, it was all worth it mumbo jumbo. Like, it's like you're taking a guy and you're transforming him. He had like Negan, I think, he had the raw ingredients to become a bad guy. And you have let him feed into those inner demons, and he has become a bad guy. And now you're pulling back on the bad guy, and you're making him not so much a good guy. Or, yes, I'm a bad guy, but it was all worth it kind of guy. And I did it for you so you wouldn't have to, And I just don't buy it. That's not, like, what is he, Teddy? I mean, that's what it almost sounds like. It's like, yet again, the season ends with a bad guy, turning things over to Alicia to take over for him, because she will run it, in her vision in a more pure way or something. But in the case of Alicia, we don't know if she's going to live or die. I mean, she's got, mysterious illness number 5, and she's got COVID 10, or whatever year it is. She's got COVID before COVID was COVID, and we don't know if she's got the zombie virus or she's got something else. I tend to think that she's got something else. And yet again, this is going to be one of those, convenient plot points. Either she's going to survive at the end and Jim's going to take a look at her and, oh, you just have, fungal infection. Here you go. And that's all it's going to be. Or it's going to be, some other easily treatable thing, or she's going to die like Ophelia did seconds away from, Madison showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll get a repeat of that again, So I don't know. It's just, I just don't, the way that it's the, since this has become a word on the show, thanks to LT, how many defenestrations are worth it? I mean, I just don't see a reality where Alicia, goes into a situation and says, I'm going to throw you off the building. And, that's how she deals with whoever person it is. It's just silly.
Yeah.
It's silly. The show is, I don't know. It's funny. I'm giving it kind of an 8 based on the interaction of legacy characters, and I love Strand and Alicia in this episode together. I love Daniel in this episode together. I didn't really talk about it because LT, you talked about it sufficiently. But if it weren't for those 3 characters, this would have been a 4 for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I believe that. What I was going to say is, and because a lot of the stuff that you've already talked about that you may be weaking or whatting, I'm going to put everything. All of mine are down in oh hell no. Sorry, I felt that strongly about this week.
Yeah.
But for weak sauce, I had to throw in here. So Strand did it for Alicia.
Yeah.
When Victor said, but Alicia, I did it for you. And I went, that's the biggest load of bovine excrement that I've heard in a long time. Because shall we dial the way back to when they were still in Lawton there, Peabody? He purposefully said, if I take you with me, then I won't be able to do what I need to do. And I went,
right.
Doesn't sound like somebody who's trying to do something for somebody that he's, that we're vaguely hearing Celine Dion songs in the background over, I just was going, no, Victor, I don't see that. And then the fact that he purposefully said, no, you're not coming into the tower. Because hasn't she been to the phone booth before? I know that several of the posse have been to the phone booth before, and he said no.
It's funny that you mentioned this. That was something that I didn't write down, but I was thinking myself that it's like I thought that this was war, right? So this is war. So you tell me that war is them just, showing up at the booth and, it's like, how is this war exactly?
Yeah. It's like, boop, 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 boop. Hello, this is the tower. Say what? This is war. Click.
All right, well, let's get into our what sauce.
What?
Okay.
We didn't have any what sauce from our listeners, so I guess that just goes.
Yes, we are wholly bereft of listener what sauce.
Well, so I put in my what sauce that Wes turned some of the Rangers against Strand, and like they were chasing him and Alicia like all over the building, but. Didn't Strand say there were like 50 Rangers between him and the first floor and the roof where the beacon is? So, like, the whole time he was running around, like, did he not see any other Rangers that were not still on his side? Because I just feel like it was just Wes and like 2 other guys. And then also it was like, was Wes able to just, was like what, did he already like have like all of them on his side? Because it just didn't really quite makes sense that he was able to just turn the whole entire tower of 50 plus people, plus we don't even see any of the other residents, it's like there's other people, and I guess unless Strand threw everybody off and he only has rangers. But yeah, I thought it was like they were just running around in this empty building, and Wes and two guys was chasing them, and then it was just kind of like, okay, so like the guy that Strand said at the beginning saying, oh yeah, like keep an eye out later or something when he turned the beacon on, it was just like all those people were just waiting for Wes's signal, to like, hey, we're going to turn the table on. And then it's like, why didn't you guys do that before? Like,
yeah,
it seemed like it took Wes to just do all that. So yeah, I don't know. It didn't make any sense because it was just kind of like, it just happened, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, like Wes was able to just get everybody to get on his side, and it just conveniently happened at the right time.
Yeah, it's like saying that, well, Howard primed the pump, and under the firm hand of his strong leadership, he was able to foment this insurrection against Strand, and his untimely death, caused the plan not to move forward. But then Wes steps into the picture and takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just another, yeah.
Well,
whatever.
like I said, I'm saving mine. So.
Yes. And I tried to space mine out to between like, okay, it's just a wasp.
I just couldn't do it.
Well, the last thing, and I was writing this when I was like rewatching the episode, and it was just like, so Strand tells, like, this is at the end, whenever it's him and Alicia, and Wes is basically, trying to say, like, about to kill him or whatever. But Strand tells Wes that it will be better to help people out there. Like, he was referring to, like, no, it's better if we help people out there, to make this a better place or whatever. And it was just kind of like, wait a minute, weren't you the guy who just threw all these people off the roof? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, like, I'm going along with Alicia. And like, it's like, or trying to help the people outside, basically, that he was going to turn the beacon light off. And then he was helping, that it's better to help them. I don't know. It made no sense. And, it was just like, and then also it's kind of like, well, Wes was so adamant. He was like, no. I'm like, we can't trust them. They'll just destroy what you created. And then I was like, wait, Wes, how do you think, like, you're going to be better off just with you? Like part of this whole thing is like you find other people to bring into the tower because you have to have things for people to do or work on things or have rangers. It's like,
2 points on that, Kyle. One is, if we're not letting new people in, then how are you in here, Wes?
Yeah.
And of course, for Strand to say that, again, wasn't it about 3 episodes ago that Howard was going, we need to let more people in, Strand? He goes, no. Right. I have a feel for these things and I can tell, and no.
Right. Yeah. And then all of a sudden now it's like, oh, you've been doing this all to like impress Alicia, or like you wanted Alicia to be the one that came in, even though you treated her like crap. And like she even said that. It's like, again, none of it makes sense, and it doesn't carry from episode to episode. It's like, that's what makes this so hard. It's like, there's no connections to anything. It's just each episode is just like a random verbal of dialogue and just stuff. So that's all I had for my Watts.
I'm a good guy. I'm a bad guy. I'm a good guy. I'm a bad guy. I'm a good guy. I'm a bad guy. I'm a good guy. I'm a bad guy.
Well, I mean, if he's bipolar, I'm sure June can fix that. I mean, she's the doc.
Maybe.
I mean, he even said
time for some Depakote.
Well, after he was doing the rummage through the drug bins, it's like, hopefully they have some schizophrenia medicine in there or something.
I'd say it's more appropriate to borderline personality disorder than bipolar disorder, because what he's doing is more akin to it's not mania and depression. It's just radical changes in emotion Anyway.
It's not a tumor.
That's psychology in the apocalypse today for this week.
I just made me think of that like kindergarten cop. It's not a tumor.
Oh.
Or you go with House. It's never lupus.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I remember one time on the show, it actually was lupus, and it was like shocking that it was lupus.
Because usually it's never lupus.
It's never lupus. But every time, just if you've not watched that show, the in joke is at some point during the episode, they think that the patient has lupus. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, any other Watts, or should we go to Oh Hell No?
I'm of the same mind as LT, where I'm saving them for Oh Hell No.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into our Oh Hell No sauce.
Oh, hell no.
All right. Well, if someone want to take Aaron's, or I guess since I don't really have any Oh Hells, I'll just go ahead with hers. One of the listeners' Oh Hell No sauce comes from Aaron from the internet. She says, Wes and his change never made sense, and while the actor did good as a bad guy, I didn't shed one tear when Wes died because it felt so out of character. He even be there, I couldn't even muster a meh. I did say good because it means we can move on now for what's left of this jammed together mess. And then she went on, and she didn't title this as being feedback, and it just came along with this. So, Aaron, if this was supposed to be feedback, but it seemed the same line of thought, but she gave a little, like, I guess, meh emoji, and she's like, I'd rather Alicia, Strand, or both had died than we go through all this and the tower still burns down. We never get to say in any one place for more than a season like the main show does, so honestly, it's becoming very much a repeat of me watching and asking, what's the point? The odds are high that all the OGs will die this season, so I'm ready for this just to be over. As Brian, I think, had said multiple times, it's going to suck. We get Madison back when no one she's connected with to because they all died by the time she shows up. And then she said, at this point, we won't see her until the season finale and probably the last shot. What we got in the trailer for the season.
We may not even see her in the season finale for that matter.
Yeah.
We have to wait.
Yeah. Well, she says, like, yeah, what we got in the trailer for the season is what her stuff will be. It's like, state your name, Madison Clark, and fade to black. They're sucking every last bit of joy out of this series. And eye roll. Yeah. That's what we talked about this, though, I think, too. Like, our everybody, we all came up with our theories throughout this season. Just so like, oh gosh, knowing that, finding out when Madison Clark is coming back. I'm like, oh, how are they going to do it? It's like, oh, will she show up just at the end, or will, whatever? It's like, oh, is Alicia going to live? And, it's kind of turning out, yeah, like everybody's going to be gone. And so, like, it's going to be what, the Madison show? It's kind of like, if all our main character, like all the OGs, basically, except her, like, where's this going to go? Like, like, it seems very like, okay, this is like not quite making sense because all the people that we cared about, even in the new characters, are all gone. Unless Althea's going to come back and be like, oh, hi, what happened? And it's like, oh, everybody's dead. Didn't you hear?
No, we're going to find out that Madison was picked up in a helicopter and taken away to Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And we're going to get to see Jadis again.
Yeah. Jadis actually knew Madison. They were best friends. They shared a trash can together.
No, they've become best friends through many years of confinement and torture.
Oh, goodness. All right.
She's Major General Burke.
God, wouldn't that be funny? All All right. Well, thank you, Aaron. That was all our listeners. Oh, hell no sauce.
Oh, wait a minute. Brian, that's the big reveal. It's going to turn out that Madison is actually Pamela Milton's Secretary of State. She's going to walk out of the back room in the Commonwealth, and everybody's going to go, and they're all going to go, "Who are you?" "I'm Madison Clark, and I'm here to straighten you people out."
Oh, did we say that? Did we say that she was going to be on Fear season 8? Oh, what we really meant was the end of Walking Dead season 11.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been like, that idea in of itself is what would have been cool if they actually had any kind of real idea of what they were doing to have that kind of a crossover, instead of bringing Morgan and Dwight and Sherry from the main show to have it turn around. And even though it's the end of the season 11 is the end of the whole series, that it'd be like, oh, what a fun surprise that would be. But it's I gotta stop. It's like, we're just there's no reason to think of anything like how they could do something and work it out. They're gonna run with this, and it's gonna have some weird, I don't know, Madison Clark on a raft with Baby Mo.
and Morgan. Don't forget Morgan.
Oh no, something will happen to him. He'll turn into Clear Morgan.
Well, see, I don't know. I think I shouldn't say that. Anyway, I'm thinking the ultimate revenge would be Morgan and Madison team up, and the last season is just Morgan and Madison hanging out with Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having their life together on a farm out in
yes.
In what state have they not been to yet? All of them.
I'm trying to think, where would they go? Where could they go?
North?
Arkansas. They haven't been to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if they're filming in Atlanta again, or in Georgia, then it's like...
Well, yeah, but Atlanta can be anywhere.
No, true. I was just saying what they're shooting now that they're filming there. It's like, what location because they reuse or whatever. Anyways,
they end up in a transport truck and fall asleep. End up in Mississippi and stay there this time.
Yes.
No, this time I think they need to fall asleep in a rail car and wake up in.
No, a rail car that's not not moving, like it's not a part of a train, but then
just a rail car.
Right, but somebody has a working railroad engine,
working locomotive.
Up, yes, that backs up, connects it, and then takes off, and the next thing you know, they're in Canada.
They're in Chicago.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we haven't had a Canadian zombie show. We need that cold weather.
Yeah, but all you'll do is complain that the snow doesn't look real.
Hey, if it's in Canada, it will look real because it will be real.
Yeah, that's true.
And they'll have frozen zombies. Literally, the makeup will fall off because it's frozen. And anyway.
All right. Well, let's move on to our oh hell no sauce, and I'm just gonna let you guys take most of it. Just the only thing is like with Daniel, just what they did to him.
Okay.
Just what they did to Daniel, because it's like they gave us the fun old Daniel that we know, only to take it away, And it was like when we were seeing all these flashbacks when they were talking about Ophelia, and it was like it was bringing up all these like good old memories of old Daniel. And then it's just now it's like how they just totally ruined his character. And then it's like, and for what reason? Like for what? It just complete waste. Like this,
I don't know.
Like, yeah, it's a mess. So you guys take it away.
And it's worth saying, like, again, I watched the episode diaries on AMC Plus, which gives you these like little featurettes in between where the commercial breaks would be, beyond what you get at the end of the episode on the regular episode when it airs. So those come out like after the main episode has aired on AMC. Just so you know, if you're AMC Plus subscriber, you can find those. So it's good if you're trying to podcast on it. You want to research about what's been on, and so you can find additional stuff. So anyway, getting to my oh hell no sauce, I would say hold on. I just don't frickin' buy Wes. I don't. And this is, I already mentioned Wes, but I just, you have this like guy who was, one of the few moral characters I think left on it, was pretty much morally pure. And then suddenly he starts, questioning, killing his brother, which I don't buy at all. I don't buy that, because I don't think there's any question why he killed his brother. He killed his brother because his brother was a bad guy. And that's all that needs to be said about it. He was a bad guy. So going beyond that, you're giving this character motivations that he doesn't need to have and shouldn't have. And I just didn't buy it. So as much as I've had issues with Strand and his flippy floppy, wishy-washy, and that's a oh hell no, but that's a oh hell no for the whole season. I gotta say, like, in particular, this turnover for Wes over the last 2 or 3 episodes, it just makes no sense at all. But I will say, and you get off the show, and you get off the show, and you get off the show.
Yeah.
And that's been a recurring theme the last several episodes. But it's like literally they're cleaning house, and that's why it seems like there's going to be nobody left on this show at the end of the season. You got let's look at this. You got Howard's off the show already. John Dory Sr.'s off the show. Charlie's, she's a goner. She's not dead yet, but she's going to be off the show. They've made a good case for Daniel to be off the show. Luciano won't be off the show just out of spite. But she should probably be off the show. Then again, Daniel could kill her, so maybe she'll be off the show. Alicia is likely to be off the show. Even Morgan, there's a possibility of Morgan being off the show with him drifting off into the moat or whatever you want to call it. The foggy lake or whatever, and off to probably find Padre on his own. And who else has died that I'm not thinking of in the last few episodes? I want to say, the bad guy, Arno. He's dead. Charlie's boyfriend for one episode, he's dead. Yeah. Of course, the guy, well, he died right at the beginning of the season, but Will, he's dead, so he didn't be able to become a character. Sherry and Dwight will probably die because they're having a kid. or maybe they'll survive because they're having a kid. But the only ones
just leave.
So who's going to be left on this show at this point? Maybe Jenna Elfman, because she probably still wants to work. No offense, Jenna, but I think you seem to be happy here. Probably Mo Collins, Daryl Mitchell, if he wants to stay on there as a recurring. We hardly ever see the rabbi, so whether the rabbi stays on or goes, I don't think it really matters.
Right. Grace, Karen David, she's still alive.
Karen David,
Grace is still alive.
I think that there's probably a good chance that Coleman Domingo will still be on the show because he's kind of been elevated to this.
Yeah, he's an associate producer.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the question you gotta ask is like, where the hell is this character going at this point?
Right,
and Lenny James. I mean, Lenny James and Alicia Debnam-Carey. I think that they have slots on the show as long as they want them. I think the show and the franchise would be smart to keep them there, especially when Kim Dickens is coming back. I think, there's all sorts of possibilities. And I would love to see, I really want to see Daniel's memory fixed, because I want to see him unimpaired and being that badass again. I just want to see that again with Madison there. I just want to see that, even if it's just for one episode and he dies. I just want to see that, not this, Ophelia, where's Ophelia? Just give me the badass unencumbered by memory problems. And
yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, I think we've talked a lot more about this episode than we thought we were going to talk.
I think you're right.
But
I know, I agree.
But it's one of those things. It's like, obviously we care about the show, and the fact that we have said as much as we've said this episode, I think pretty much shows you that we care about the show. And I just want the show. If the show is ending in season 8, I want it to end in a bang. I want it to end, just not all this crap and stupid plots and flying over Texas or, by a plane made from kids and, or,
No, that's a plane made, Brian, a plane made by kids, not a plane made from kids.
I know, but made from kids was funnier, so I went with it.
That's a far more sinister turn than I think I'm willing to go with.
Exactly. I was thinking like Human Centipede kind of thing. Anyway.
Hey. Oh, gosh.
Anyway, a plane made by kids. There you go. I just want to see this show be what it can be. And we have seen signs of it being that show. I just want to see it be that show and not be stupid show.
This show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my oh hell no.
All right. LT, I see you have a lot there.
I have a lot, sir. I want to start off with, okay, so are your 50 Rangers all skilled in the art of ninjutsu? Do they have specialized equipment that renders them invisible to the human eye? Because I sure didn't see 50 Rangers. I didn't see 50 people total, even if you count Dwight, Sherry, and the band of stragglers in the parking lot. When he kept saying, I've got 50 Rangers that are, where, Strand? Where? I didn't see the art lady and the potato diggers either. So where are all the residents when all this hoopla is going on in the tower? Are they on another floor and they're just not paying attention to what's going on? Are they having a poetry reading? Do they have the classical music turned up so they can't hear all the gunfire? It's just, how much would it hurt to have, go get the key grip and some of the dolly operators and, put them in some schlubby clothes and have them standing in the back, hiding in corners. I just didn't see any people.
Yeah.
So when he said 50 Rangers, I'm going, bullshit. They ain't 50 people. There's the 4 guys that are hanging out with Wes and, Charlie, Daniel, Alicia, Strand. We saw June momentarily, but where was she? They had to show Charlie because she can't hide because she's sick. I'm like, come on, guys. If you're going to have 50 Rangers, I need to see some more bodies.
Can't disagree with that because that's what I thought. I was like, it's pretty empty.
Well, and we talked about Wes, and let's be honest. Wes has had more personality shifts in the last 3 episodes than, what was the movie? Was it All About Eve? Is that the one that had anyway, he just seemed to have shifted gears about 15 times, and I'm really struggling with the fact that, he was not that bad of a guy, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, I'm a crazed psychopath. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm still a good guy. I'm like, make up your mind. Because I don't think there wasn't enough stressors to make him all flippy doodle like that.
Or they didn't show any of that.
Yeah, and they didn't show any of it. And like you said, he went from, he's slightly disaffected. He's painting on trees. He saw his brother. He's slightly disaffected. He goes over to Strand and suddenly decides that he's going to become, Strand's number 1 guy. And then next we know he's fomenting an insurrection to take over after he just got there. And I'm like, come on, this is just bad. And about Wes. Okay, Wes did a strand to Strand, just like Strand did a strand on Virginia. And I would ask both of my esteemed colleagues, if Wes was doing a strand on Strand, don't you think Strand would have noticed that Wes was doing a strand on Strand?
You would think.
I mean, come on.
Strand on Strand.
He did the exact freaking same thing that he did to Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going, come on, Victor. He's pulling the same shenanigans right out of the old Victor Strand playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for the love of God, do you not know your own shtick when you see it?
You would think.
I mean, I was just like, really? Really? And about Strand. I mean, we were talking about his sudden shifts in personality, and yes, it is Victor doing what Victor does, but does it not seem odd that he had this sudden change of heart as soon as he shaved? Was his aberrant personality due to that sporty beard he had? That suddenly with a crop of manly facial hair, you start going, well, I'm going to be a dictator today.
In the zombie apocalypse, the beard is the goatee. Of the, it's like the mirror universe.
Well, if you think about it, if you remember back, when Rick had his crazy beard was when Rick was being strange and flighty, but then he got a haircut and he straightened right back out. I don't know. I just struggled with that because all of a sudden they're like, well, Vic, you shaved your beard. And then suddenly he's back to old Strand. And it just kind of was like, okay, so yes, we did have a little bit of fan service because you got to see him with his shirt off and you got to see him, shaving with a straight razor. But I was kind of going, I don't know if that's enough. When I shaved my beard off, I didn't have a personality shift. I just went, okay, now I don't have a beard. I mean, the next thing that got to me was, was it just me, or did Alicia get the vapors at the obviously right moment to make the plot shift?
Oh, yeah.
It's like she had she had the gun, she took Vic's gun and she was pointing the Luger at him. And then she's like, and again, for those of you who can't see, I am throwing the back of my hand onto my forehead and doing the classic faint pose. Oh, I am lightheaded. And then when they're trying to make their way up the staircase, it's like, oh, I have the vapors. And of course, at the very end, after they struggle on the rooftop, and, they have their big fight scene, and she clambers to the top of the beacon tower to hook up the radio. That, of course, she has another spell of the dropsies when she's up on top of the scaffolding. And I'm going, well, I don't think they're going to do a Joan of Arc moment with her there, with the, being up on the top of the platform with the flames rising. But we don't know. I mean, I assume that she survives to the next episode because you see her in the previews. But I'm like, if you're feeling that lightheaded, probably climbing to the top of a tower, to the top of a tower on top of a tower is probably not the best thing. Mm-hmm. And about that as well, isn't it nice that while the generator was on the roof, that they had the conveniently placed gas can so that during the fight scene, she jams her big Wolverine claw into the gas can, thus spreading flammable liquid all over the obviously dry timbers of the raised garden beds and all the other flammable materials that are stacked so conveniently next to said gas can. And of course, we have lots of sparkage and the big whoosh of flames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the roof of the tower is completely engulfed in flames. And I'm going, this is why you always keep your flammable liquid stored in a flammables cabinet when you're in an industrial situation. Leaving the can of gas out in the open is an OSHA violation, which I'm sure will get you fined the next time the safety inspector comes around. So now the roof is on fire and the place is in flames. Right after what? Right after Alicia got on the freaking radio and told everybody in the world that has a radio that can hear her to come to the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay, team. You're trying to get everybody to come to your new house so they can be safe, and you just set it on fire. Once again, this is why we can't have nice things in the apocalypse, because you've obviously filled the other nice place that we mentioned earlier. We took the bunker and we filled it full of zombies. So, of course, with the 50 Rangers and the unknown number of denizens now trapped inside the burning tower, and with all of our hero party on the bottom floor, with the exception of unknown June and bedridden Charlie and whoever else. So now the tower's on fire. And Kyle and I talked about this earlier. Of course, they don't have any sort of fire suppression system in the tower. Well, we're too busy trying to get everything else working. Well, of course, there's no pumps, no water pressure. It made me wonder just how did they irrigate the crops on top of the roof? Did they use their manual labor to haul buckets of water up the 8 or so flights of stairs to water the things on the roof? Or perhaps they were thinking enough to have a large cistern of water up on the roof from all the copious amounts of rainfall that we had in, say, the, what was it? The episode, it was the episode before, it was like the 2 episodes before last when it was raining like 30 hells.
Yeah.
Hopefully they had some sort of, I don't know, large barrel up there that's collecting the rainwater, which would make me think, well, if you've got such a large supply of water to water the crops, then perhaps you could put the fire out. But, I think that hoping that they actually have the resources or the wherewithal or the mental faculties to put the fire out goes back to the whole thing of, well, did anybody have enough sense to keep a Geiger counter with them when they're running through the radiation? Did they keep their masks on when it was actually appropriate to keep your mask on? So I guess it's back to the writers obviously don't know any first responders or have never been to a fire safety class. After all this, and I've thought about it, and as much as we've carped about little things up until this point, this was the proverbial straws that broke the camel's back. That I'm going, okay, 1 or 2 of these things interspersed in an episode, I could probably just weak it or what it and kind of go, okay, which is what I think I have done. But this was just, 1 too many leaps of faith, 1 too many, my disbelief just sat there glaring at me in the corner. And I said, okay, come on. Mm-hmm. Come on, sit on my lap. Let's watch the episode, because it just was too much. It was just too much this time. And what bothers me is that, so now we've got what? Next week is it? Or do we have 2 left?
2 more episodes. We have 2 left.
We have 2 more.
So next week is the penultimate episode, perhaps? So we do have 2 episodes to hopefully clear things up. But the analogy that comes to mind is, I don't think they're going to have enough plunger action to make this one go down the toilet. I think this one stopped it up, and I don't know if they're going to be able to clear it by the last episode. Now there may be, more gymnastics than an Olympic training gym going on. And they may, weasel their way out of this, but I'm just sitting here going, dude, really?
Yeah.
I've just got to say it. Brian and I have talked about this, that I feel like we have been relatively positive about this show, no matter how bad it's gotten. But I think I've finally crossed the Rubicon. This is just a more than I can take.
No, I mean, that's like, yeah, I would agree with that, because that's where I feel like I've also gotten to the point where it's like I know we have 2 episodes left, and it's just, we're losing people right and left, and it's almost like they're cleaning house. Like we know Madison's coming back, and how and in what way, and it's like, okay, like almost kind of like if they're doing like a reset to like go into a different direction,
mm-hmm.
like then this, like maybe, if that's what this is all about, but also a very messy way to do it. And also then it kind of makes no sense of why you would bring Madison back, and then you're going to just basically cut off everybody that she's ever known. That would make for a good story. So like, why wouldn't you want her to find her daughter after all this time? It's like this,
well,
like that.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's what makes me wonder, is this just going to be a bait and switch, and they lead us to think that she's dying, she's dying, or she thinks she's dying, she thinks she's dying, she thinks she's dying. And then at the end, it's like, June sees her and it's like, oh, you just have a case of athlete's foot. Here you go. Or whatever.
Well, maybe not quite that bad, but she goes, well, I have this one bottle of, methyl ethyl quinacetone aside, and it'll cure what's wrong with you. I just don't know. There's going to be something if they're gonna pull this one out. It's going to have to be some kind of maneuvering.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I'm when you say that, LT, you made me just flashback, and I just remember, in season. I think it's been every season with this damn show. Every single season. The only season that I can say that I didn't feel this way was season 3. And season 3 was awesome. Okay? So I felt awesome about coming back to season 4 because it was the only question that I think Kyle and I both had is the showrunners are changing. And what's that going to mean? And the answer is crap, but now we know. But for that matter though, what's Dave Erickson done since season 3 of Fear? I should go back and look, but I don't think he's done anything. I think he's just like sitting on development deals after development deals and not actually getting anything out there.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. But the point I was going to make, though, is that it seems like every season we get to this point, like 1 or 2 episodes before the end, and we say, I'm done with this show, or, if this doesn't improve at the end of this show, at the end of the season, I'm done with this show. And then it gets to the end, and we go, nuclear bump. Oh, that might be interesting for season 7. Oh, I guess I'll watch. Or, Morgan's, might be dead. Oh, I guess I'll watch. Or, whatever it is, they get arrested at the border for between season 2 and 3. Oh, I guess I'll watch. And it's like every season when, or in season 1, oh, they're on a boat. I guess I'll watch. It's like every season we get to this point where, we're so close to just like throwing our, I said this last week, maybe it was on Star Trek I said it, LT, you could tell me which one it was, but throwing all of our papers up in the air and going, that's it, I'm done with this show. And then we pick up all our papers and go, okay, I'll come back, and it's like every season we end up with this thing. And, it's just a question of what it ends up being for next season. And we already know, Madison's coming back. So, there is a curiosity there already, but where she's going to come back and how she's going to come back and who's going to be left when she comes back are all big question marks that we have right now.
I figured since they always play so fast and loose with distance, Morgan pilots his raft into the Caribbean and builds a tiki hut, and he's sitting on the beach drinking a drink out of a coconut, and the beer bottle balloon floats down onto the beach, and Madison gets out of the basket.
Oh God. I totally forgot about the beer bottle balloon. Why did you have to remind me about the beer bottle balloon?
It's my job, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm just going, there's got to be something, but it's
Oh, I totally forgot about the beer bottle balloon. Oh my gosh.
I threw my camera back on for a second to just say, oh, because that was my reaction when you said that. I just like, oh my God, the stupid beer bottle balloon. Anyway.
Well, that's what, like I said, that's what I'm here for, man.
That's what you're here for. So you've fulfilled your purpose.
Well, anyway, I think if that's all the hell no sauce we've got, we still need sad sauce.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we're just, it's like we've got a lot to say, even though we didn't get a lot of feedback this week. So I think it's just we're just at the point where we're throwing all our papers up in the air.
Well, with all that, let's get on to our sad and aw sauce. Aww. And we just have the one from Erin from the internet, and she says, well, first, she's like, an aw sauce. She was seeing Alicia, Daniel, and Strand together in the opening moments. It was almost like old times again. Also, to Strand calling Alicia his daughter.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yep. Sad was Daniel's quest to see Ophelia again. That's a sad face. And then and sad, the scene of Alicia and Charlie calling to Daniel as they died, as she died, I guess, and saying to do for Charlie what he couldn't for Ophelia. They showed actual clips of Ophelia now, so it definitely means Daniel is dying this year, I feel. I'm surprised we didn't lose every OG character this episode, given some of the story progression points.
Yeah,
it's possible. I hope not. I already expressed that.
We shall see. All right. Well, thank you, Aaron, for your say it and all sauce. I was just trying to put something in here so I'd have something to say. I was just saying I guess it's sad that the tower is going to burn down because it's another great spot for a community to thrive, only for it to be burned down to the ground. So everybody has to go find a new place to ruin.
Yeah. And for me, my sad sauce is yes. After all they've done to Daniel, it was, sort of sad that he did get to see Charlie again and he got to sit there with her and hold her hand and talk to her. And, we had seen how they had bonded in earlier seasons. And if they are going to get rid of Daniel, at least, he was able to get some closure since we know Charlie is all irradiated.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sad about the tower, but for another reason. So Howard had all of this stuff that he worked so hard to gather, all these historical artifacts that he talked about, all of these things that he brought in to make sure that they survived the apocalypse. And now there's going to be a big fire in the tower, and all that history of the before time, all those Texas relics are going to go up in flames.
That's a good point.
And, it was sad enough that, Howard ended up getting killed because despite all of his other Weasley character attributes, I did like the fact that he was trying to be the archivist. He was trying to be the historian. Almost like he's trying to preserve some of the history through the Dark Ages so that one day when we come out of the apocalypse, people will know that there was something before the zombies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
More so than like that scene in The Road Warrior when he finds the children that survived that air crew that crashed out in the desert. And the history was so jumbled up because as time goes and you have fewer people that were actually there, the verbal record gets kind of altered and changed until it turns into something that's more, magical and tribal rather than sort of based in fact. And I can kind of see that because you've got some of these younger kids that were born, where they were too young to remember the before time, and all they've ever known is the apocalypse. And so it makes me wonder, even if they can get to the point where they take care of the zombies and society can rebound, where will it rebound from, and where will it rebound to? Since all the technology's gone, and then the older folks who have the specialist knowledge of how to make that technology function, are they going to end up basically like in a medieval kind of agrarian society because nobody remembers how to make steel or make chemicals, or, they don't have machine tools, so they can't make steel parts to tight tolerances, and they can't make cars or combustion engines or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that other show, Jeremiah.
Yep.
That's kind of funny though, or not funny, but like sad that when you put it in that terms, because it is like, once again, fear or not fear. The Walking Dead has a way to really just like destroy everything. Because you're right, Howard had that was like his mission to begin with, and then Strand shows up, and then everything else, and then he dies. It's like all that history, all that stuff that would be valuable, like invaluable, is just now up in smokes because our people are crazy. And again, like I said, it was like, they burned one place down that could totally be a thriving place to have a community, to destroy it and move on to the next thing.
Well, it's like we've always seen through the main show is they were in the, you had Woodbury, and everything happened with the governor, and everybody scattered, and they went to the prison, and they left. And we've seen, Alexandria struggle, and we've seen the kingdom turn into, get abandoned, and it's nothing. And we've seen Hilltop basically, burned to the ground, and it's, a palisade and some buildings, and that's about it. So it's a theme with the show that if you have something nice, you're not going to have it long.
right. Which is what we expect of the Commonwealth.
Yep.
It's like, oh, all right. Was there anything else to say, or we go into our feedback?
Did you do yours, Brian?
I just said, since I basically mentioned Wes in everything that I've said, sad for Wes, just for Wes going out the way that he did. So
yeah, could have been better.
And another young actor on his first job, and now he doesn't have a job anymore. So hopefully he's got something lined up.
Yes.
Good luck, Colby Holman.
Yep. Good luck.
So we know times are tough out there.
Oh, that's on his resume now. Oh,
yeah. For good or bad.
Well, no, right, exactly. Well, we'll see. All right, well, let's get into our feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
Well, we're so happy to have our feedback from Glennis from Toronto. And she starts out by saying, nothing like having an aperitif before going to war. Just as well, Daniel slipped in uninvited to the drink's little tete-a-tete, as he was single-minded in his mission to find Ophelia. And he didn't seem too upset with Alicia, Luciana, or Strand for deceiving him. But that was the last straw for Wes that made him turn and go to the other side and join Strand. Nice to see the rapport between Daniel and Charlie and calm Daniel's confusion to get him cohesive enough to save Alicia and Strand's life by picking off Strand's Rangers one by one in Daniel fashion. So, Strand loves Alicia like a daughter, but treats her this way, then flip-flops after a bit of back and forth between then in the elevator that all's forgiven if she stays and the others can now enter the tower? Then enter Wicked Wes and his cronies, who've now switched sides from Strand and look to Wes as their leader, who they've only known for a minute. I think Strand thought that Wes wasn't going to change his mindset and would be a loose cannon, so Strand ended him. But it also looks as if Strand can't stand anyone that was close to Alicia at one time or the other. And now Strand can't let the truce play out with Alicia because he's gone too far down the road of evil, or has become too paranoid that he doesn't think doing good will benefit anyone and refuses to switch off the beacon. I don't know. I'm confused with his motives currently. So say we all, Glennis. So say we all. So in the melee that results between Strand and Alicia in trying to switch the beacon off, Alicia's iRobot hand punctures the gas cylinder, spilling fuel all over the place, and the beacon goes off as the cable is broken and sparks fly. Alicia manages to then climb up and connect the radio transmitter and send her message out to the world, and the fire erupts on the roof. Noted that Madison was also surrounded by fire at the stadium when she, quote-unquote, perished. So it'll be fitting for Mama Clark to save Alicia from the fire as she heard that message from Alicia, and then they'll all head to Padre.
Yeah, I thought that whole flaming scene, that was my thought too. And I think that, I think the combination of her being on the message and saying Alicia Clark, and then she passes out and you see the fire, and that's kind of a thought. I'm like, oh, is she going to go out like Madison? You know, it was like she's just going to burn up, and after giving her message saying, hey, everybody come here.
Well, the only problem is she doesn't have a convention or a concession stand to hide in.
Well, yeah. Yeah, she doesn't. Oh, well, yeah, again, Glennis, always great feedback and breakdowns. Cause it just, well, we've already talked a lot about it. It's kind of agree. All right. Well, does anybody else have anything else to say?
I've said my piece and I've counted to 3.
All right. Give me one last chance.
I am done. I just want to move on to the ratings, please.
All right. Well, that gets us to our news, ratings, and info.
What the hell is happening?
I have no idea.
And that's the most apropos quote we've had tonight.
Well, speaking of ratings that are getting stolen, this show is at 0.11 in the 18 to 49 with 658,000 viewers. That is down from last week's 0.13 and 738,000 viewers. So down 80,000 viewers, quite a bit. It is a 0.19 in the 25 to 54, down from 0.21, and 0.43 in the 50 and over, down from 0.46. So down all the way around, up and down and all around. No Talking Dead, again, of course. In the Parrot Analytics, the number one show, yet again, SpongeBob SquarePants, yet again, with 70.8 times the demand of an average show. Who knows why? I sure as hell don't. So, number 2, with an 8-minute preview this week, is Stranger Things, which is on the number 1 in the digitals with a 61.8 times the demand of an average show. AMC favorites Better Call Saul is in number 3 with just underneath Stranger Things with 61.2 times. And Breaking Bad, it's just been off the air for a long time, in number 6 with 47.7 times. The Walking Dead is not charting this week. However, since LP and I host the show, this is my segment, I will say that Star Trek Strange New Worlds is again in the top 10 of the digitals, with in the number 4 position, down a notch from last week, with 34.1 times the demand of an average show. So that's all that I wanted to say about that.
I would say that The Boys is actually now up, like came in the rankings because they came out with their I guess their trailer or whatever, because that's going to be starting up soon. But that did crank into the average of the digital originals. So that's another show that's excited.
Yes,
to
it did.
see coming back.
Right. Don't care. I have not seen the show, and other than the fact that Dr. Bones McCoy is a cast member, I don't really care. So I mean, it's a show that I wouldn't mind seeing. I just have not seen it, so how can I care when I haven't seen it? So
yeah, well, and it's there on streaming, so you can watch it anytime.
Right. In other words, never. So there's just too many things to watch.
Yep, that I agree.
Anyway, that is it for me.
All right. Well, I'm going to say spoiler for the news segment, because this, like, and really, if you are not online, which would be obviously hard, but so this is what kind of is ruining it for me. So we don't even have the next episode out. You know, if you're on AMC Plus, yes, you get to see next week's episode, but they've already released the sneak peek trailer or whatever, you know, that would come after next week's episode, just, you know, what the finale is. And we see Madison's return in that trailer for the finale of Fear, season 7. And I won't go in further into it. Like, everybody, you know, that doesn't want to, like I said, spoilers, you can skip over this, whatever. This, you know, the fact that I know some of our listeners, and we've been talking about, like, oh, how are they going to play this out? Oh, like this happens. And then, like, you know, like, well, what's going to happen to Alicia? Oh, I hope they get to meet, or, you know, Madison meets. And it's like, it looks like the only person she's going to be meeting is Morgan. I mean, they didn't show enough in there to, like, what that whole episode's about, but I know from what's coming up, and it just seems like it seems to be going that, yeah, we're basically, it's just going to be Madison and no one else. So, and Morgan. And so I don't know. I don't know if you've seen it, or it kind of broke my heart, because I thought that we were going to have, like, this whole, like, kind of reunion thing. And it just feels like, no, it's not even going to go there. And it kind of sucks. But then it also makes me think about, like, well, then what's season 8 going to be about, you know? So what's going to be the hook and the finale is really what I'm just kind of waiting to see.
Madison gives Morgan tips on raising children.
She's like, yeah, I didn't do so well with my children, but here, I'll tell you some things. Anyways, yeah.
And I want to go ahead and say it. You know, come on, AMC. If you leak this on purpose, not all of us are watching Plus. And the fact that they're doing a teaser from 2 episodes from now is a little much. That we complained about AMC doing the teasers that they did for the main show, where it seemed like we were getting a lot of stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going, you know, not cricket, kids, not good form.
Well, it's like the main show, and then they, like, announced the Isle of the Dead, and we're like, oh.
Do we know that this wasn't part of like the 30 seconds at the end of the episode 15?
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
But normally they don't release that until closer to air date for the broadcast show.
Well, right. And actually, I think I skipped around and watched next week's episode on AMC Plus, and this came on right after that episode ended. So it was already in next week's episode.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. That it's part of the teaser for next episode after this one, but.
Yeah.
Right, but it's just the fact that it is released and is already being picked up and being like, oh, hey, everybody, look, and it kind of is like save the finale for like when after it airs, don't spoil things.
And again, 15-second soapbox. I understand that you want everybody to get on the plus wagon. But for those of us who aren't on the plus wagon, for those of us who are still watching it on regular broadcast or regular cable, I just think it's not cool. I have a problem with that.
No, well, and isn't it like their own Twitter account? Like we'll sit there and say, "Oh, Fear the Walking Dead episode blah 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 is coming out. Oh, don't spoil it for those that aren't, on AMC Plus." I mean, I remember seeing that a lot, and I'm like, "Well, now you guys are basically just spoiling it before. Like it doesn't matter because you know how the internet works. It's like
exactly
you want to like keep this thing under, tight-lipped. Then it's like don't let these things." Do this. It just I don't know. I only want to bring it up because I was just like it is affecting me on how I feel like how this is like going to end, and then it kind of makes me more not happy and a little disappointed, and also just like, okay, fine, let's just get through this and see what happens. Maybe there is some kind of little twist that'll be like, oh, okay. Like you said, Brian, like, all right, here we go again. I guess there's something there enough that's going to like, hey, we'll watch it for next week or next year.
Yep.
Or whatever. Anyways, that's really all I had. There was not really anything else unless you guys have any other news to share.
I don't.
Okay.
So we want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at WalkingDeadTTM. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us email. That's walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. If you want to send us feedback, you can use our feedback form on our webpage. That's talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call area code 216-232-6146. Remember that all of our new episodes are on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell. And additionally, hit that like button. So if you hit the bell, you'll get notified when the new videos drop. And those videos go out to YouTube first before the podcast does.
And to support us, you can like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page. You can find that at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. And the best way you can support us is in our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. And we would like to thank our Patreon supporters, Clint McCollum, Renee Murray, Deetta Patterson, Guy over there, Lawrence Todd, and me.
Hello.
Kyle McAdams. Remember that Deetta, Clint, and Renee will be getting an early version of this episode this week. You can also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or your podcast client of choice. And while you're there, give us a rating or review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. And there you can actually rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. And as always, remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. What else can be listened to on Talk Through Media, Brian?
Well, LT and I are doing the Strange New Worlds talk through, the Star Trek Strange New Worlds talk through, the mouthful, and we have released the first 3 episodes to Patreon members. The first 2 episodes are out to everyone, and LP and I did the first 2 episodes, just the 2 of us. In the 3rd episode, we had Kim from Revenge DS9 joining us. We are going to have James the Augmented Sailor on this week. Wes Huntington, who does our news on the podcast, for episode 5, so that he can finally tell us how he got access to all the episodes, the first 5 episodes, because he tells us that every week. So we're going to get him to tell us that on episode 5, and we'll be having a rotating 3rd host throughout the weeks. And for Picard, we still have a bunch of episodes for Picard still to release. Episodes 4 and 5 are recorded. We should have episode 4 out in the next couple of days, I think. That's just being finished up tonight, I think, or at least to Patreon tonight. The episodes 4 and 5 are recorded. We still have to record the last 5. So, and then, so we've got, and LT is joining me on the rest of those. So, and it's the same kind of thing for that. Ruthie's kind of stepped back, and it's going to be LT and me and a guest host for the rest of the season, I think. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it. Of course, Kim and James, the other James, as in James, the husband, are still doing Revenge Deep Space Nine together, and soon they'll be getting back to Prodigy, although I don't know when. And that's it. And of course, this fine podcast, which is better than the show, as people tell us.
And don't forget that also, since Prodigy is in the future, that you'll get to hear the 3 of us back with Lower Decks whenever Lower Decks comes back.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you, LT. I was thinking the same thing.
And remember, if you want to know more about what we're doing in Star Trek land, you can check that out at facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts with an S.
And we have a Patreon for that, where much like this one, you can get the episodes ahead of time with all of the lovely raw recordings. And especially like tonight, this will be a special episode because we had many technical breakdowns. Kyle. Anyway, so Kyle's internet access was not behaving tonight. So anyway, the Patreon for the Star Trek podcast has the URL's changed, although the old one still works. But it's now patreon.com/Star Trek TTM. And that basically covers everything. So just helps cover the cost of doing the podcast and all of the software and hosting fees that we have. Same as this Patreon.
Yep. All right, well, for next week, Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 15, titled, is it Amina? Yeah, written by Ian Goldberg, Andrew Chambliss, showrunners, and directed by Michael E. Satrazemis. Description on AMC Plus is Alicia turns back to save one more person trapped in the fallout. All right. So until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Brian.
I'm LT.
And this is Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.